Hello YouTube, or should I say good morning, good afternoon, good evening or good night, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another edition of Small World Games. Today, after a bit of a hiatus, we are returning to the blood red skies with a first look at this new book, Airstrike, New Rules for the Blood Red Skies game of World War II fighter combat. Now I've just picked this up in the last couple of days. I've had a little flick through it. And the important thing is this is not going to be a review. I don't want to sort of influence your opinions or anything. I'm just going to go through the book and just sort of let you know what to expect. Now, I'm very happy with it myself. You know, it's everything I wanted and so much more. And so I just want to share that with you now. I've had a flick through it. I've not had a fully comprehensive look because I want this to although I want to know what I'm talking about, I also want it to be I wanted it to literally be a first look video. So, here we are, without further ado, we'll open it up, and the first thing that became apparent, pardon me, the skylight is reflecting on the glossy bit of the book a bit there, is there's little flaps on the insides where we have the target cards. You've got these both front and back. That's 12, so that's 24 in total, representing various different types of target, and we'll talk more about them in a moment when we get to the relevant section. Okay, so as we go through it, we've got the usual sort of introduction and the contents table. Obviously will look familiar to those who've been playing the game already and have read the little books inside there. And here we are. These are the main rules. So this is basically going to be a full-on replacement to the little pamphlets that are available in the boxed game, and I dare say will be available in the new boxed game, the one that's based around Midway, that's supposedly coming out this year during the summer. Although I'm going to say subject to change, of this game, this particular book's a little bit late in its release by about 12 months, I do believe, but don't quote me on that. So we've anyone who's been on the Facebook page on the Blood Red Skies Ready Room will know there's been a few FAQs, which I've had a peruse through some of the rules. I can say that some of those have been included in this. Yeah, so it's all kind of, if you know the game, you'll know what we have here pretty much. Obviously we've got Salem Island's 10 rules of air fighting there, the advantage system. So I won't go too much into this. And one thing is, you do get some pretty cool pictures throughout this, because there's been more sets released as we've gone along. So it's been including more artwork and model pictures. Okay, and there's your expanded rules section as well. So your doctrine cards and theatre cards, which and your aces, which have now been bolstered with some more types of that card, which we'll go into as we go along. So there you go. And they've actually provided us in this with, and we'll see later on, they've provided us with some of the cards that are out there that aren't as common, which is much appreciated. Obviously they come in the plain packs. If you're interested in the planes, you're going to buy them and get the cards, so they might as well let us know a little bit of what to expect. So there's your positive and negative traits. So yeah, rockets, so rocket powered, jet, biplanes, hard and agile. And for negatives we have laden, plus your bombers, poor quality, rough ride, and sluggish. And vulnerable at the end there. Those two we're a bit more familiar with. So yep, and there you go, equipment cards, also multi-engine planes. There's your turrets, your 360 firepower. Cracking examples of the box art there. Here you go. This is a bit of a new bit. This is the MiG Alley. Now, if you've played MiG Alley, it's not so much a theatre or rules that apply to my own interests at the moment. However, I would be interested at some point in looking at the Korean War. Things like Gloucester Hill and things like that. So yeah, it may definitely be something that does become of interest as I go along. And here we've got so expanded on the rules a little bit. We've got the what historical doctrine cards are available. We've been given some details of other planes that don't include the MiG and Sabre that are currently available. Well, it does include and expands on, and relevant scenarios. We've also got the World War II planes that were still in operation over the World War II era planes that were still in operation during the Korean War. Said it wasn't too long after World War II, so some of them will have still been in usage. Yeah, so that's basically some of the basic rules that are included in the MiG Ali box set and expanded on. Right, and so now we get to the real reason why we're here. This is the official airstrike rules. So we'll go straight into it. This is basically for your attacks on ground targets, ground or sort of sea targets, things like that. So the first thing, and one of the most important things, the new additions are the cards themselves. So let's quickly go over it. So looking at the battleship and the tank column, you've got two different types of point hits. Now your two different types of hits. You've got your point hits and your area hits, or as they're called, hull hits on ships. The point hits can be targeted by both strafing attacks and bombs. These are representative of things like your vehicles or grounded aircraft that you might be attacking in, like an airfield. So they're your smaller things that are going to be sort of easier to damage. Maybe tank easier to damage, I know, but yeah, you get the idea. So it's an emplacements and things like that. So it's individual ground targets, whereas your area or hull hits represent larger targets that are harder to destroy. For example, a runway or a building or a rail junction, just something like that. So obviously with that you need to cause a bit more damage than a few bullet holes. So though you'll need to use bombs on those. However, the ship equivalent hull points, you can still strafe those ones, and rules for torpedo attacks, which we'll look at in a second, are only ever used to score hull hits on ships. It would appear with most of these airstrike scenarios, the way of winning the battle will be gaining victory points through scoring the point hits and area hits, as opposed to destroying the target outright, whereas the opposing player will score their victory points by taking out your sort of striking aircraft, your bombers and things like that. You've got your light flak score, which is basically your firepower almost for the ground targets, and you've got the qualities of it. So armoured, for example, will sort of take away. You'd have to, so armoured 2, you'd have to score at least 3 hits with your roll, because it works the same as attacking planes. You'll roll your firepower dice, and you'll have to score a certain amount above that number before they count against it. So on 2 would be quite good. So it's better than a critical damage. Also you've got things hard and mobile, so if they're mobile, if they're moving, they're harder to hit. So though the target itself on the table won't be moving itself, it's still moving on the ground. Okay, I think that's all we have from there. Continue on to the next page. Yeah, we've got all the cards for them. We've got the examples there in the book. Here's the rules for defensive flak. So when making a strafing attack, a plane would need to be disadvantaged to make the attack. So you've got your flak value. You do get some bonuses for cards, which we'll look at in a minute. I think that'll be on the next page. And so basically when a plane is making a strafing attack, it's disadvantaged, and it kind of counts as head-on attack if you've taken on another plane, another aircraft. So the target and the attacking plane will basically be firing at each other. The flak gets priority, so if it's successful in shooting down the plane, you won't be able to carry on your attack. But also attacks can be made at the end of in the end phase against general disadvantage or neutral planes. On neutral planes you lose a bit of your attack value. Right then, so on to the next bit. This is what the rules in the scenarios tell you. You can select you get to pick flak cards. So you have the light flak, cards which add a bonus to your flak value. For example, certain targets are going to be better protected than others, and if they're expecting an attack, they might shift some mobile flak batteries up to you, or maybe amongst the tank column you might get some mobile flak batteries amongst them. So it's just basically representing better protection. And then of course flak barrages. This is one thing I thought looked quite cool. These are your little bursts, as noted in the image here. It kind of goes up in the air and explodes. So there's another use for your boom chip counters, and you then need to sort of make your manoeuvre test to get round it or suffer the consequences. So it's kind of adding another, shall we say, terrain piece along with the clouds and barrages, which again, it's quite cool. So I'm just skipping through this as quick. I don't want to spoil. I just want to give you an idea, as I say, not spoil the book as a whole. So you've got the different rules for making the attacks. As I've stated, that's how you make a strafing attack. It's got new pilot actions of bombing runs, so that comes more into it now. You're not just trying to get off the table. Your bombers are actually trying to attack the target as well. So you've got your disadvantaged strafers, or your bombers can do theirs at neutral, advantage level, and as we go on, the dive bombers can literally dive as well, so they get extra rules taken into account as well, and torpedo bombers. And we also have terrain cards this time that you draw. So you've got things taken into account where it's flat land, it's a hilly land, it's sort of an elevated section like your mountain region, so I don't know what that'd be, like your Norway sort of area. You've got your urban terrain, which the difference is all of these they can make it sort of harder to fly through, or can add certain flak batteries, like areas in the middle of an urban environment will be where there might be a lot of factories or important buildings. They'd be have a heavier flak presence, so that comes into account, and also the alert effects, so how quick they can get response to them. So we've got some. I'll be honest, I haven't really looked at this section so much because tournament and competitive play at this stage isn't really something I do. So, well, not in this game. So, but you never know. I don't want to rule out completely. So I will come back to that. Right, and so scenarios. Although it's definitely it's going to be worth a look, because it will give you ideas for your day-to-day games. You do want a bit more balance to it, or just whatever just however you like to play. Right, and so here we go. These are the scenarios section. In this, we've got the original scenarios that were in the original pamphlet, though there's going to be some changes to those, which we'll have a look at, and as well as so you've got 7 more scenarios, new ones to choose from. So and there's some very interesting things there. Right, and this is something of note. This is the first time I've ever opened a book which has given you a picture of an example tabletop, and the quality of it is the exact same as my own, which I'm very happy about. So a few little things on clouds and barrage balloons. So this is your pre-game setup, your free bombers and all that. And again, kind of pretty much similar. There's been some upgraded changes to the points. That's pretty much the standard. So you're choosing your targets. Style doctrines and theatre cards. Obviously, we've had a few new ones since the original books come out, included in various playing sets. Special scenario rules. Okay, so here you go. This is your intruder flight. This is the opening scenario, the 1v2. A couple of changes we've had here is there's a variant one of this game, which is a flying bomb. So it's planes trying to desperately shoot down one of the unmanned flying bombs. And so they've done some different examples here. So they've changed some of the examples from the original book, from the original box set, because the rules in the box set were looking at the Battle of Britain era. It was the Battle of Britain box set. So now they've expanded it to take into account the other theatres and forces. However, saying that, this is the similar sort of era, well, it's just after the Battle of Britain, and it's involved. And this time we've got the Luftwaffe as the defender, or the one trying to make it off the table. And in this case, we've got a two-engined, a recon converted BF-110. They've got pilot skill 4 though, so he's actually got the advantage over the, in that sense, over the ones of the previous ones. I think it was something like a pilot skill 3 Spitfire and a pilot skill 3 and 4 Messerschmitt. Oh well, anyway, it's all details. Right, so we've got the dogfight scenario and fighter sweep on these 2 pages. Again, we've got a couple of these examples. We're looking at the Luftwaffe and the United States as example armies. And again, in fighter sweep, we've got the Japanese Air Force and the United States on that one as well. So we've got bounced. Again, we'll look at Pacific in the examples for this one. Escort duty. Escort duty. So despite obviously this now including involving bombers more in the game itself, this particular scenario is still about escorting the planes off the table edge. Again, there's a few differences in how the rules work this time, and the example here, we're on the Eastern Front with the attacker being the Soviet, or the forces of the Soviet Union against the Luftwaffe. And now we're on to the new scenarios. Now this transport hunt, this was teased on the Blood Red Skies Ready Room Facebook page. We had a little example. So basically, you've got transports flying around, and you're looking for, and the attackers, the attacking side are actually up and about in the clouds, looking for the transports to take them out of action. This is one I was specifically, well, myself and Guy being my regular opponent, who you'll be familiar with if you've seen any of our bat reps. We were talking about, because he's very much into his Imperial Japanese forces, and we were talking about the Burma campaign. In fact, we've already started looking at, he's got his army together, I'm getting my my British force together for that. The Burma campaign was what we were looking at, and of course transports being vital to the aerial transport was vital to some of the British war efforts, so this is going to be a scenario that's particularly of interest to us. I don't know right now what I'll be doing for transports. I'll probably maybe look at the Russian Tuplovs, I think they're called, and convert them into these C-47s? C-47s? Well, C4s, C4 Skytrains, or forgive my lack of knowledge of the name of that aircraft, but I know those were in use amongst the in the Royal Air Force, by the Royal Air Force, so probably my best bet for transport. As we carry on. So sorry, just going back to that. So the idea of this is it's hidden. They're sort of hidden. You've got to take tests to search for the planes, and you'll basically shoot them down from there. So high altitude interception. So again, sort of similar to the maybe bombing. It's about the bombers. Basically from high altitude. The main difference being that you only get a certain amount of time to attack them. Bombers are now flying at higher altitudes for their own protection, so you can pretty much make one strafe run before you have to descend again, due to the air getting no good for the conditions, being no good for the pilots to operate in. Again, I haven't gone through this massively, just had a little look at the various ideas, but so priority targets. So so we're back with the Luftwaffe and RAF again for this one. Like Ju-87s, I like this one. I said in a previous video I'm a big fan of the Ju-87s. Probably my favourite World War II aircraft. Okay, so surprise attack. So you'll be attacking targets on the ground. Again, one of the scenarios that this book is all about. Oh, it's a big scenario. So the way home, so basically you've completed your bombing run, or you've got them there safely. Now it's time to return. You're using a few less bomber aircraft in this one, just to take into account the losses and things like that. And they are unladen, so you don't get the penalties for that in this particular one. So front lines. Now this is a particularly interesting one. Now this was teased prior to, on the Ready Room group. If you're not already a follower of that group, I definitely recommend it. Of course, you have a little special. You got a playing card sized object in the middle. Now I was thinking about what to use for objectives, just going off topic slightly, and obviously there are buildings and things available out there that would be of an okay scale. However, I like to keep everything flat so I can fly over it. So I was basically thinking of some playing card sized print-offs of sort of reconnaissance photographs of various things, such as your airfields, your factories, your radar stations, and so forth, and use that as my objectives, because then it's flat and it's sort of thematic and it's relevant. Because I suppose before they go out, what you'd see is an aerial photograph of your target, so why not use that as the actual target itself for the purpose of the game. But yeah, so coming back to this, the variance is particularly interesting because you're able to sort of fly into your games of bolt action or cruel seas. So your playing card sized area on the table represents the board, or your second table where you're playing your game of bolt action or cruel seas on, and that's basically the planes now enter that new area. So they fly over the card, they disappear, and then they do their action on that board relevant using those rules, and then they'll return to the game after that. So yeah, you got your but outside you don't have to do that. You can just play it as a normal game with a normal target. But yeah, that was cool. And that will be a lot of fun. So targets of opportunity, again, this is another sort of search and destroy type mission. And yeah, that's the end of all those scenarios, including the new one. So a lot to I've got to have a proper read of all of that, but a lot to take into account. Right, so here we go. We've got some examples of cards here. There are your light, flak and flat battery cards to print off. The photocopying, you're given permission to photocopy for your own personal use. And there's obviously some negative and positive traits. And then we've got some new doctrine cards. Some met-offs. I think some of these are included in the. I won't get too much into it, but I think some of these are included in the card sets that were released. Okay, contents, quick reference sheets, and some more target cards. Right, so I'm hoping to get some more games played of this now that I've got the new book. So watch out for them. I'll be looking forward to bringing you some back reps using these new rules and expanding what I've already been doing. One thing I noticed isn't included, which I thought might be, was a campaign system for sort of linking games and things like that. Now, whether or not there's future plans for that, I don't know. However, if you once again name dropping the Blood Red Skies Ready Room page, there are on there on the file. If you join that group on there on the files section, there are some rules provided for campaigns by Andy Chambers himself and other people from the Warlord Games. Obviously, Andy Chambers is a very broad. It's a sort of broad one for use in all theatres, and you've got some specific ones around the Battle of Britain, Burma. There was even one for that which I was interested in, and again, other various ones. There's lots of fan-made content on there, which is all well worth a look and very good. Right then, so I hope you've enjoyed the look through. I didn't go into too much detail. I don't think I did, because as already stated, I want you to get out there and enjoy the book for yourselves. But at least now you pretty much know what you're expecting and you know what you're getting. Yeah, so I think that's as good a time as any to leave it. As I say, hope to see you back again soon. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please like, comment and subscribe. If you haven't enjoyed the video, then please still comment and subscribe, because obviously your comments help make the better videos. And if you subscribe, you can see that I've listened to what you've said and I've done a good job of it. Right then, that's a cheeky little plug there. Right then, so that's all from me. And it's all from Small World Games. Until next time, thank you very much. Goodbye.